We're already 2 races through the Wawa Cup Series chase for 2024, and already we have seen many wild things occur. This championship is still very much up for grabs, especially considering where our top 2 drivers and points are starting here today. And this race is always a tricky one. We're at the Tricky Triangle in the home state of Wawa, the Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. This here, the Herr's Forever Good 400. 40 laps of action around this 2.5 mile triangular shaped oval. It's gonna be a fun one here today, as we only have 8 races to go in the 2024 Wawa Cup Series. Hello everybody, this is AG here, and welcome to the Pocono Raceway here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. We're finally in the home state of Wawa. Obviously very excited to be here at Pocono, and definitely one of my favorite tracks to go to here in the Wawa Cup Series as well. Always a very entertaining race. We had a very entertaining race on Wednesday in the Sprint Series when Santiago Laborito went to victory lane on the last lap pass. Who knows what we'll see here today? Will we see a last lap pass with these guys? Will we see a driver dominate like we have the past couple of weeks here in the Wawa Cup Series? I feel like we may find ourselves with a few more leaders up front than we have the past couple of weeks. But hey, who knows? Only 40 laps here, and we do have a cycle of pit stops right about halfway to go through in this one here today. And of course, I'm not alone. Joined alongside Pacific Racing owner Brennan Wilmington. And Brennan, I had the honor of being alongside you for the Lumen Stock Car Invitational race here. Do you think we're going to see something similar like we saw in that race? Caution-free and a driver going from 33rd starting position all the way to the lead.
I'm not sure. You did mention that there were quite a few differences during that broadcast between this Pocono and the one that we used there, but I'm still expecting a strategy to be a very important factor in this race, as it usually is in Pocono, both in NR and in real life. That's definitely going to be a factor. I think the raw pace of the cars is definitely going to matter a lot as well, and that's why I see a lot of those chase drivers starting up front, which has been a trend throughout the chase, but still, especially at this racetrack. This track can also be very hard on equipment, so definitely watch out for mechanical failures in this race as well. If your reliability stats aren't that good, it might come to bite you. But overall, I'm expecting something kind of similar, but maybe not quite the same. Maybe a different flavor, if you will, of Pocono this time around.
It's definitely going to be a fascinating race, and it's interesting that you mentioned reliability. While we officially did not have a reliability issue on Wednesday, Christian Master did blow up right as he was crossing the line around that 5th starting position in that event, and that was only a 15-lap race. These drivers have to do 40, and who knows who it will be. Of course, last week we saw Daniel Paulus Jr. and Bryce Egan blow up on the same lap coming to green at Chicagoland, so you know how it is here in the Wawa Cup Series. Nothing is set in stone until that checkered flag flies, and every driver crosses the line under the checkered flag. But regardless of the fact, we're excited for this one here for the Herr's Forever Good 400. Of course, Herr's a big part of this channel, has been a big part of this channel for so many years, and obviously here in the home state of the Wawa Cup Series, and myself, Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Not legally my home track, that actually is still Dover Motor Speedway, but still a great place and great to represent the state of Pennsylvania here today with this one. And it's always a big deal to win at Pocono if you can do so, because a lot of the drivers that win this race tend to do very well long term in the season. Just ask Drew Webb, who won this race a year ago, went on to win the Wawa Cup Series Championship. Had that great battle with Nicholas Samedeo pretty much that whole way through. We got a caution on lap 39 that ended the race 1 lap early. So hopefully we get a green flag finish here today. We'll just have to see how it all goes down. We do know that Rogeldorn is our points here by only 2 points out of Thomas Troxel. The downside for Troxel, he starts 30th in this race. Only Daniel Paulus Jr. further back of the chase drivers starting in this one here today. Going to take a lot for Troxel to get out of that hole. Rogeldorn starts in the 12th position, which compared to some of the other guys he's battling in the championship with isn't too great either. You got Jack Haas, who's 14 points behind. Jack starts back in the 20th position. Nicholas Samedeo is 18 points behind. He was runner-up in this race last year. He is starting 6th here today. Ludovic Charette, 19 points behind. She's starting in the 13th position. Matt Tuck, our pole sitter there for Groton Autosport, and what a week it's been. We didn't mention the Drew Webb announcement officially last week at Chicagoland because we didn't quite know when they were going to announce it, but we can officially say that those two guys there, well, I should say Drew Webb there, starting in the second position, will be driving the 54, which will be renumbered to the 18 next year at Groton Autosport, so a huge, huge deal right there. And speaking of Drew Webb, he is there. 10th in the points, 46 points behind, starting on the outside pole. We got Brain Perez, Blaine Keys, Kirsten Bell in between. Blaine Keys, of course, 2 wrecks in a row to open up the chase. He's 40 points behind right there. But he does start 7th here today, and this is definitely a type of track that I think suits that team and that driver very well. And then you got Trey Bartow, Daniel Paulus Jr. back there, 49, 61 points behind. It's not been a good opening to the chase for Daniel Paulus Jr. And once again, he starts deep in the field for this one here today. But Matt Tuck and Drew Webb lead us off to the green flag for this one. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this battle ends up shaking out as the day goes on. Kirsten Bell and Angel Gutierrez make up row number 2. And then you got Travis Crampton and Nicholas Samadillo making up row number 3. How about NS Racing with both of their drivers top 8? Blaine Keys starting 7th and Andrew Miller there starting in the 8th position. How about Bryce Egan and Logan Williams rounding out the top 10? So we got 5 non-chasers and 5 chasers in the top 10 starting this race. Other chase drivers, of course, Ladovic Charette starting in the 13th position, Rogel starting in 12th. We got Jack Haas starting at 20th, and then the 23 of Braden Perez down in 24th. Trey Bartow starts 19th, and then Troxel starts 30th with Daniel Paulus Jr. in the 39th starting position here today. So going to be interesting to see how they end up all finishing, but I feel like the drivers who are starting up front are going to be the guys who are going to be up front near the end of this race. Let's go ahead and get these drivers to roll off here from the Pocono Raceway. And we'll go ahead and get these drivers to roll off here from the Pocono Raceway. Of course, a 2.5-mile triangular-shaped racetrack here in the Keystone State. Of course, be coming here tomorrow for the Cup race. My first ever Cup race here at the Pocono Raceway, ironically. I've been to 2 IndyCar races, a truck race, an Xfinity race. The first Cup race tomorrow, and excited to see the Cup cars in real life drive around this place. And we're excited to see the Wawa Cup Series cars drive around this place here today. And Brennan, I gotta ask you, it's gonna be an interesting one. We got a lot of strong drivers starting up front in this 40-lap race for 100 miles here on the Tricky Triangle. Who's getting it done here today in the Herr's Forever Good 400?
I'm going to pick your outside pole sitter in the 99, Drew Webb. This is the kind of track that definitely plays into his strengths. He won here last year, of course, in the battle that got a little bit shortened at the end, but still, starting on the outside pole, he might fall back on the start, but I expect him to make those spots up pretty easily, and I think the new Groton Autosport hire is going to get the win here today, try and turn his chase around.
And of course, you mentioned the big news that broke a week ago on Thursday. We didn't really mention it too much last week at Chicagoland. We didn't know when that news was going to break, but we can officially talk about Drew Webb moving over to Groton Autosport next year, replacing Matt Tuck. Of course, Matt Tuck becoming an owner. His 2 drivers are going to be Matthew Hubert and Daniel Paulus Jr., and they're essentially going to be an offshoot of Groton Autosport, so we're going to have a pretty interesting combination with those 4 drivers next year. And of course, you got Blaine Keys joining your team next year alongside Thomas Troxel. That's also going to be a huge team to watch in 2025. But hey, we still got 8 races left to go here in 2024 for the Wawa Cup Series, and this championship battle is still very much up for grabs, especially with the driver who won last week starting in 30th. It's Matt Tuck and Drew Webb trying to catch on up to Rogel taking the green flag here at the Pocono Raceway. We're green flag racing in the Herr's Forever Good 400. Green flag in the Keystone State. And a very good jump at the start there for Matt Tuck. Very coordinated start for Matt Tuck there, getting that jump on the inside lane. Drew Webb a second. How about Angel Gutierrez up to the 3rd position right there for Millennium Motorsports. It's been a tough season for Angel, but you know what? He's got a good shot here today. And how about Nicholas Samidio? I'm sure he's remembering last year and barely losing this race to Drew Webb, trying to take fourth away there from Kirstenbell. Had a great jump there. Blaine Keys went 3 wide at the start of that race, and then Samidio cut back over and took the position back away from him. So great battling on between those two longtime veterans. Ludovic Charette, Bryce Egan, Brian Webb. How about Philip Torres here in the top 10 right now? And a lot of great battling going on as Matt Tuck currently leads Drew Webb here on lap number 2.
Your front row sitters are still running 1-2, and these are two of the strongest drivers in the field. It really doesn't feel like Matt Tuck only has,
and
problems
right
in the pits
there,
43.
Justin Zeidel with an issue there on lap number 2. That is such a shame for Justin, who has definitely been the other driver there at Racing Motorsports this year. He's going to be moving on to Tracoan Racing Enterprises, which means Racing Motorsports right now, they don't have any drivers signed for 2025. It's going to be interesting to see what Aaron Abel decides to do for next season, losing Blaine Keys. That's definitely the big loss for him. And then Justin Zeidel in that 43. Not a good start for Justin. I'm not sure. That had to have been a tire that went down on that lap. And we saw 15 laps in on Wednesday. Mechanical failures became an issue. Of course, Christian Master blew his engine. These guys are definitely going to be thinking about that with 40 laps on tap here today. It's a long race for these guys and for these engines, and it's going to be fascinating to see if we do have any mechanical issues as this race goes along. Samidio's up to 4th there around Blaine Keys and Kirsten Bell. Kirsten Bell slipping back as Ludovic Charette's also making some moves there. 3 wide. How about Matthew Hubert, Travis Crampton, Bryce Egan? And how about Matthew Hubert? Almost won last week. Had a great car last week at Chicagoland. Just couldn't quite hold off Thomas Troxel as that race went along, but still managed to finish 2nd after starting on the pole in that race. And we all mentioned Matthew Hubert joining Velocity Racing next year. That team essentially an associate team to Grattan Autosport, and they're going to run a lot like Grattan Autosport has. And tell you what, Grattan Autosport running pretty well right now with Matt Tuck, Ludovic Charette, 1st and 7th right now here, 4 laps into this Herr's Forever Good 400.
Going back to what I was going to say about Matt Tuck before I was rudely interrupted by Justin Zeidel, it really does not feel like Matt Tuck only has 1 win, and especially does not feel like it was so long ago. There's been so many opportunities for this 54 to seal the deal. He really should have won the Dover race earlier in the season in particular, but you got to know that's got to be a chip on Matt Tuck's shoulder, especially in his driver retirement season. But, he's still got to hold off drivers like Drew Webb for this. Here comes Nicholas Samidio to the inside of Angel Gutierrez, who is returning to that Millennium Motorsports team. He's going to have a new teammate next season as well. So that's one of the Braden Perez going to the 44 car, I believe. That was kind of a signing that went under the radar, but that definitely could be. And how about Ludovic Charette already moving up to 4th? These Grattan Autosport cars are looking fast here today.
And guess who is racing along with them? The 2 guys who were 1-2 here last year with Drew Webb and Nicholas Samidio. And yeah, Braden Perez is going to be joining Millennium Motorsports in 2025. There were bigger things that happened that day that overtook that announcement. But hey, huge congratulations to Chase Harris for picking up Braden Perez. It's a shame that Perez is leaving Team Williams. That's another team where really don't know who they're going to sign. They're losing both of their drivers next year. We do know Ludovic Charette is returning to Grattan Autosport, and we know Nicholas Samidio is returning to Appalachian Motorsports. And how about those 2 drivers? And how about Charette? Is this going to be a 1-2 run right now for Grattan Autosport? Because Charette is really quick right now in that 51 machine, trying to catch up to Drew Webb. And Stewart's got to be loving this one, because he's got his 2 drivers and his future driver all in the top 3 right now. Once you know it. We had Ludovic, Drew, and Matt in the booth as well on Wednesday. Those were the 3 drivers, the 3 guys who called that race on Wednesday, and right now they're 1, 2, 3. They must have seen something in that Sprint Series race that got them up to this point. I tell you what. Can't make this stuff up. But how about Nicholas Samidio? Still running well. Blaine Keys trying to rebound after everything that's happened to him in the first 2 races. He is down 40 points off the points lead after essentially being the best driver going into the chase. So definitely not the position he wanted to be in coming into this one. You got Gutierrez, Kirsten Bell. How about Brian Webb? Great run for Brian Webb. Don't know where Brian Webb's going to end up next year. There is now a slot open at Titan Fury, and he may stay in the Dodge Cam. We'll have to see if that ends up being the case. Logan Williams, Philip Torres, the top 10. Roland Orange still in the 12th position there in the 74 machine. And Bartow, how about Troxel? I'm impressed with what Troxel's been able to do. He's moved up fairly well here in this one. Now up into the, see where he is as he crosses the line right here, up into the 17th position after starting 30th. Trey Barcher just ahead of him right there. Santiago Labrito, winner on Wednesday. In the middle of all that, not a good run for Braden Perez in the 23, down at 25th position. And then Jack Haas, who's third in points, struggling in this one. 31st for Jack Haas right now. And Daniel Paulus Jr. did not get a good start in this one. He's all the way down in the 38th. Matt Tuck continues to lead as something happened to Drew Webb, I think. Oh no, something happened to Ludovic Charette. Ludovic Charette blew up in front of Drew Webb. And Ludovic is going to be out of this race. Will she get back around, or will this trigger a yellow flag? That is huge right there for Grattan Autosport. Ludovic came into this race only 19 points behind. And right in front of Drew Webb, I think, is where that all occurred. You see the replay of that in the corner of your screen. I think she will barely be able to get around right here. But that is huge in terms of the championship, and Ludovic Charette could not afford that. As she is going to fall further back in the points after this occurrence. And now, if you're Matt Tuck, you're thinking to yourself, oh no, my teammate just blew up. What's going to happen to me in these next 31 laps?
Yeah, and Grattan Auto definitely not had a shortage of those mechanical failures this season. It's been really their Achilles heel, I guess, this season. It's bit them so many times, and you hate to see that, especially to the third place car. And that's the second time this week the third place car has had a mechanical failure at this racetrack. If I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels. But Matt Tuck still sitting comfortably, well, as comfortably as you can be after your teammate just blew up. Out in front, Blaine Keys trying to run him down in second, and I do want to point out, Rut Racing has both their drivers in the top 10 right now. That is yet another team that's going to have a completely new roster next season, because Philip Torres is going to the Herr Motorsports number 52 car after a bit of shenanigans. But he is going to that car, so... And Rut Racing is definitely a pretty solid team, so those are 2 solid cars that are freed up for some of these guys. It'll be interesting to see who goes there, as Logan Williams gets to the inside of Torres for the 8th position, and he will now be right behind his teammate Nicholas Samadillo. But definitely a lot of interesting silly season moves going on. A lot of teams that are losing both their drivers are going to have to find a completely new lineup. So, again, there's still a lot to find out during this silly season. Drew Webb has fallen back to 6th after whatever happened to Ludovic Charette probably got in his way, and now he's right with Nicholas Samadillo again. But unlike last year, they've got 5 more cars in front of them.
Now, one of those guys is Brian Webb. Got to give a huge shout out to Brian. And like I said, we don't know where he's going to end up next year. We know he's going to end up somewhere, but he's one of these few drivers who has yet to sign officially for 2025. And he almost made the chase, and he was the points leader early on in the season. Definitely a solid driver. Maybe he doesn't have the raw speed that some of these other drivers have in terms of getting the race wins. He's never won a race before in the Wawa Cup Series, though he came close at Road America last year. And guess what? 2 weeks from now, we're at Road America, so watch out for Brian Webb in that one. But regardless of the fact, this is definitely a driver who, you put him in a Rut Racing car, you put him in a Titan Fury car, and I think he might improve based on what he's been able to do at Team Williams. And I feel bad for Drew Webb and Nicholas Samadillo. They were a couple of guys who were definitely caught behind that, because they were right behind that 51 when she blew up, and they lost some momentum, but they are not out of this yet. Only 2 seconds off the race lead. And what you know, and Matt Tuck has led every lap so far here in this race, but Blaine Keys is coming. That 41 Racing Motorsports, they've had their driver. It's a shame for Aaron, and I know, I'm speaking to the guy who's taking him here, but, Racing Motorsports is definitely a solid team, and we'll have to see what happens with their lineup going in the next season, losing Blaine Keys and Justin Zidell. Blaine is right there on Matt Tuck, as we might have a 3-wide move for Samadillo on his rival, Drew Webb and Kirsten Bell, and he might go with Brian Webb as well while he's at it. You know he's got a chip on his shoulder here today, and Drew's got to be careful here not to wash up into Kirsten Bell off the exit. They're still 3 wide as they head down the Long Pond straightaway. Drew Webb's going to try to shoot the middle, but I think Samadillo's going to hold the advantage going through the tunnel turn, and it looks like he will not. Drew Webb's going to hold on to that position as for the race lead. Blaine Keys on
you
Matt
gotta
Tuck
do.
here on lap 13, and Blaine Keys trying to get his 4th win of the season and trying to rebound after his miserable start to this Wawa Cup Series chase.
If there's any track for Blaine to do it at, it would definitely be a track like this. Keys has some of the most raw pace in the field. That's one of the reasons why we picked him up for Pacific Racing next year, as a complement to Troxel's consistency. And you're seeing it on display here. Started in 7th, and in 14 laps, he's gotten the lead away from Matt Tuck. But we still have, of course, pit cycles and stuff to worry about, as the Appalachia car is going to go side by side for the 6th position. And a bit of an interesting theme going on is we have teammates running very close to each other. The 59 and 95 battling each other. Mentioned both the Rut Racing cars are pretty close to each other. They've now got Kirsten Bell in between. And then out of this lead pack, leading the 2nd pack, was both the Hair Gel cars. I noticed them down that long front straightaway. And Troxel's now passed them both. And Braden Perez has also been making up some positions in the 23 car, so he's trying to salvage some points for those two teams. Definitely been a good rebound for Troxel, considering how far back he started. Bartow up there as well. And Perez is going to try and pass him here on the front stretch as they run just outside the top 10 back in this 2nd pack here.
Matt Tuck looking to strike back on Blaine Keys right here. You got to give a huge shout out to Angel Gutierrez and Brian Webb as well. A couple of non-chasers there in the top 5 at the moment. It's Drew Webb and Brian Webb going after it right there. And of course, Drew Webb hires Brian in the Truck Series, so Brian will be driving for Drew in the Truck Series this coming season again. And Igor Brito will also be on that team as well. So, even though Drew Webb is leaving Titan Fury, definitely seems to be a lot of respect between Drew Webb and Igor Brito. And hey, Igor gave Drew his first championship, and vice versa. That's all you got to do. All you got to do as Matt Tuck takes it away once again from Blaine Keys. So already more lead changes in this race than what we have seen in the past 2 races. Philip Torres going after it there on Kirsten Bell and Matthew Hubert. And Sam Medeiros falling to the end of this pack right here, so I'm not sure what's up with that 59 right now, but huge gap between the first pack and the second pack. Yeah, Braden Perez leading this pack with Troxel and Alford and Laura Chung. Bartow slipping back just a little bit right there, but they are significantly further behind. But even though this is not legally a super speedway, it kind of races like one with these packs that get split up. And we saw that, and I saw that in the LSCI race that we did last week, and saw it a little bit in the Sprint Series on Wednesday. And we're seeing it here today, and Matt Tuck, he wants to see all 39 of those guys behind him once this is all said and done, and currently that is the case, but Blaine Keys is going to be hard to beat here. Gutierrez, Drew Webb, Logan Williams. The cycle of pit stops is going to be very interesting, and we're closing in on that. Just about past halfway is the length of the cycle, and we should not have an issue like we did at Dover, where they come down after a shorter stint right there. Drew Webb moving back through the field up to 4th. Logan Williams is 5th. Great run for Logan Williams. This is another one of those races where Logan just all of a sudden really, really good for no reason. Obviously, that team is really good, but Logan himself has always kind of struggled in the Wawa Cup Series, except when he doesn't. And this is one of those exceptions here today. Looking to push Drew Webb to the 3rd position and himself take the 4th spot away from Gutierrez. And how about Matthew Hubert looking to take 5th? Not a good entry there. The tires are starting to wear out. Tire wear is really significant, and that inside lane really has a lot of grip now as the marbles have kind of spread up to that outside lane through turn number 3. So definitely interesting racing going on as Logan Williams looks to take 3rd away from Drew Webb, and it looks like he's going to have the run going in the turn 1. Not enough there. And Drew going to hold on to that position as Matt Tuck continues to lead here on lap 18.
Tuck is leading, but Keys has been right behind him, and this is going to definitely be an interesting battle between these two drivers. Matt Tuck, of course, he's got that chip on his shoulder. He wants to end that long winless drought. Blaine Keys wants to turn around his miserable, really unlucky start to the playoffs. Both of them have a lot to gain from a win here today, so we know this is going to be a fierce battle between these two. And in this, I guess the second group now, because the top 2 have pulled away from them.
Oh, caution out on the racetrack. And someone around. Oh no, it's Thomas Troxel around with Bartow. And they're continuing the slide around in turn 3. The Oliveira there, the 50 machine of Matt Black. Or excuse me, the 50 machine is not Matt Black this week. That is Nathan Faden, I do believe, in the 50 machine. It is, in fact, Faden. Troxel in the
Laura
62,
Chung.
Laura Chung, Trey Bartow, Andrew Miller, all caught up in that one.
And just when he had recovered from the bad starting spot, too.
That is such a shame for all those guys, especially Thomas Troxel. So that's 2 chase drivers. Now, the good thing for Troxel is he only has what appears to be minimal damage on that 62 machine, so we'll have to see how that ends up affecting him. And wouldn't you know it, caution coming out just before halfway. They're going to come down with 21 laps to go in this race. And I would assume that with the caution laps that we are going to have, they should be good to go until the end. But, you know how it can be sometimes, you know? This is the Wawa Cup Series, after all. So this right here should be the money stop for these drivers. I don't think they are going to have to come down again. But we'll have to see how it all ends up shaking out. Matt Tuck going to lead them down the pit lane here. Going into lap number 20 of 40. So 19 laps complete when they cross the line right here. Matt Tuck, of course, has that first pit stall for winning the pole position for this race. And he has led all but a couple of laps as Blaine Keys got around him, and he got back around Blaine Keys. So, going to be interesting to see how this ends up shaking out right here.
Definitely, we'll see who has the best pit stop. Oh, bit of a collision in the pits there with Alford. Perez is already out of the pits, maybe trying a different strategy. That Team Williams number 23, he will be the first one out. I don't even think he took tires. So
I'm wondering if he got caught in and missed his pit stall. Matt Tuck will beat everyone he was racing with off. Something to miss on that 23. I don't know if he missed his stall or what, but everyone else on the pit lane for the expected time. And Troxel will get back out there, but he's going to be restarting in the back of the field. Bernardi Oliveira, Laura Chung still on the pit lane right there. Does appear that Bartow is going to be out of the race.
Out.
It's a shame. His first ever win on the channel came here at Pocono back in 2015. And it actually came, I think, because Blaine Keys came down the pit lane under the caution that ended that race. Isn't that ironic? And Blaine Keys, I think, will be second. I don't know about Braden Perez right here, but Perez is going to lead, or at least try to lead a lap, I would assume. I don't know what they're doing there at Team Williams. Man,
maybe he's trying to stretch the fuel, try and come in a little bit later, get a splash extra than everyone else in case this thing does go to fuel mileage. But yeah, I'm not so sure this off-sequence strategy for Team Williams is going to work, if he's even going to come back down again. I don't think he is.
We'll have to see. We'll check in and see what happened to Braden Perez. But first, let's go ahead and see what happened to bring out the first caution of the day here at the Pocono Raceway. A big wreck in turn number 3 involving chase drivers Thomas Troxel and Trey Bartow. Well, how about one of our chasers right here? In the battle with Laura Chung and Thomas Troxel in the turn number 3, I don't know what he was doing. He just punted that 55 up into the outside wall, right in the Troxel. That's what you get for liking sheets in the Wawa Cup Series. And, just a bad place for a wreck to occur right there. Not much room for these guys to go as they're coming through the field, and you'll see right here, forget who it is. I think Andrew Miller in the 97 is going to run in the Trey Bartow right here. This is actually what's going to take Bartow and Miller out. That is a massive shot. And then Bernardo de Oliveira had nowhere to go. Tanner Parton nowhere to go. Nathan Faden as well in the 50 getting spun around. And you see Faden getting spun off there near the exit of turn 3. Yeah, that was all on Bartow, just pushing it too much into the corner there on Laura Chung and taking out Troxel in the process. That is huge in terms of this championship.
Well, I don't know what Trey Bartow was thinking here. You'd think a veteran of this scope would know not to do something like that into turn 3 at Pocono, but maybe desperate measures there for the 4 car, as he hasn't had the greatest start to his chase, and then more of them pile in. Just kind of ran out of racetrack there, kind of blocked the track a little bit, and unfortunately Thomas Troxel, who had done a great job up to that point of working his way up through the field after the poor qualifying run. He's now going to get knocked straight back to the field, and judging by the damage on that car, I don't suspect he's going to be able to climb back up. But yeah, that's a real shame there. A lot of cars with damage after that in turn 3. Just really an unnecessary move there by the Fora Barto, and it took himself out in the end. So I guess you reap what you sow.
And Braden Perez, we're going to check and see what he did on his pit stop, because he's now our race leader, but I don't know if he's going to be able to stay up front considering how short he was on the pit lane. Let's double check that one real quick. And here's Braden Perez's stop. And, oh, he got hit there by Seth Cole, and I'm wondering if that's what sent them off kilter, because, granted, they were not taking tires there either, so I don't know what the deal was, and they were not on the pit lane that long, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does on the restart. Drew Webb there in the 99 as well. Behind Matt Tuck will be coming off the pit lane with Kirsten Bell. 4 tires for all of these guys right here. So we'll have to see how that ends up shaking out for everybody once we get to the restart here at the Pocono Raceway. Matt Tuck is second behind Braden Perez. Let's see what Perez does on the restart here in the Herr's Forever Good 400 at Pocono. We are back here at the Pocono Raceway in Long Pine, Pennsylvania. And, oh boy, this race has definitely gotten interesting. We got a caution right around halfway. Now, most of these drivers, and I say most because Braden Perez appeared to have a short amount of fuel put into his race car and skip the tires, and don't know if he's going to be able to stay out there, but everyone from Matt Tuck on down had the normal pit stop, 4 tires and fuel, and realistically should be able to make it to the end of this race without having to come back down again. But Braden Perez is your race leader. Now, he got a bonus point for leading a lap right there, which, hey, every point matters, and Perez trying to pull a rabbit out of the hat with this one. And you know what? 39 points behind. He's ahead of Rogaldorn and Thomas Troxel by a pretty good margin, especially Thomas Troxel. Now, Rogaldorn's still just outside the top 10 and 12th right there. He's kind of been comfortably back in. That's kind of what happened at Chicagoland. He quietly moved his way through the field and got a top 10 in that race. Matt Tuck's been the dominant driver of the day. He is second. Blaine Keys, Logan Williams, Matthew Hubert, the top 5. Drew Webb, Philip Torres, Nicolas Amadeo, Angel Gutierrez, and how about that 11 for Gradden Autosport? Santiago Labarito, who won the Sprint Series race on Wednesday, inside the top 10 in the 11. Ludovic Charette, remember, is out of the race because she blew an engine early on in this one. And also Trey Barto out of the race as well. And Blaine Keys looking to get to the inside of Matt Tuck. A good jump for Braden Perez on the restart, but these guys have tires and Perez does not, and Blaine Keys taking advantage of that as he takes the race lead on lap 23.
Oh, that's going to hurt Tuck all the way down the straightaway. He's going to lose second to Drew Webb. He might lose third to Logan Williams. Oh, man, they are not happy with that 23 car, I can imagine. And now he's holding up the inside lane. And that's going to allow Keys and Webb to pull away. I kind of had a feeling something like that would happen on this restart.
And he is going to come down, I think, as well on this lap.
Yeah, he's probably coming in.
So don't really know what the strategy was there with Team Williams. They wanted to keep him out and get a bonus point. That was tight there. Off the exit of turn 3, and problems with Braden Perez here at Pocono. Matt Tuck really lost out on that one. He is now in a battle for 4th with Philip Torres, but that could have been a lot worse. Could be his teammate blowing up and in the garage down in 39th. Matt's going to be able to get around, and it's now Blaine Keys and Drew Webb. 1-2 here at Pocono, coming to 16 laps to go here on this Herr's Forever Good 400. Logan Williams is third. A battle for the 5th position between Angel Gutierrez and Philip Torres. You got Avery Alford, Ace Garcia in the top 10. Sam Medio's another one of these guys who got shuffled out of line right there, and he's stuck on the outside lane. Labarito to the inside of him. You got Crampton and LJ Sameto moving their way through the field. How about Daniel Bolus Jr. cracking the top 20 here? Not been a good day for him as Drew Webb's down the pit lane as well. A problem on the 99. Oh, it's someone's blowing up. That's Sam Oskin in the 73 who has just blown an engine. Everything going on here at the Pocono Raceway.
Stay on the apron.
Don't know exactly what happened to Drew Webb. I'm wondering if he had a tire issue because... Oh, I don't know. He's staying on the pit lane right here.
It might be more than that.
Oh my goodness. A long term. And it could be another fuel issue just like it was. No. He's coming back out right there. Don't exactly know what the issue might have been there for the 99 of Drew Webb. That is such a shame for him. He was second at the time. Remember, Drew Webb also got wrecked out last week at Chicagoland, so that's 2 weeks in a row for our defending champion. They're about to close in on Braden Perez, who's on the tail end of the lead lap right now, and this has actually benefited Matt Tuck, who is now in the slipstream of Blaine Keys and might have a shot at closing back in on him. He's just got to make sure Philip Torres isn't trying to make a move on him. How about Philip Torres? And you know, the whirlwind he had a couple weeks ago when Herr Motorsports was like, oh, I don't know if we're going to sign him or not. Like, what do you mean, man? You already told us that you were going to sign him. Well, he is, in fact, going to be driving that 52 next year for Herr Motorsports. I think that's going to be a good combination. I think Avery has definitely rebounded with that team as well as of late. Avery Alford is one of these drivers who is yet to sign for 2025, but definitely a driver who I think is going to find a good ride next year. But, man, that is such a shame. There's 2 chase drivers. Now, Braden Perez is a little less of a surprise based on what he did on his pit stop, but Drew Webb, definitely a huge surprise as Sam Oskin brings it down the pit lane after he blew his engine. Man, you just can't get a normal race, can you? We do all these ratings, we do all this stuff to try to keep it consistent, and all heck breaks loose each and every week here. And I tell you what, it's amazing. Blaine Keys, who has had all heck break loose the past couple of weeks, has not had any issue yet in this one as he leads here at Pocono Raceway.
Don't jinx it. You know, there's still 14 laps to go. We've seen all sorts of things happen in this race already. Matt Tuck is catching back up to him in that 54, and these two have already been in a fierce battle. These have been the 2 fastest cars today, and they're back up front 1-2. Matt Tuck kind of had a bone thrown to him there with the problem with Drew Webb, but you know, he's back in it, and that's all you need. You just got to be in it. You can definitely win it. And further back, we have all these non-chase drivers inside the top 5, all battling each other. Kirsten Bell, Bryce Egan. Bell is actually a chase driver. She's having a pretty solid day. She's been pretty consistent throughout this playoffs. And Sam Adio has dropped like a rock since that restart. He is, oh boy. Yeah, he's battling Rogel Dorn, who's also back here. So, a few of the chase drivers not having the greatest of restarts. They're all behind Daniel Paulus Jr., who started on the last row. So, Paulus actually salvaging a decent amount of points here for that 2014.
They are definitely running fairly well. They definitely did a good adjustment on that machine, and I think Sam Adio had a bad adjustment on that pit stop because he is really falling off the pace. Down now in the 19th position. Rogel Dorn also back in there as well. Meanwhile, Troxel is 29th, so he's moved up a couple of positions. He's up to speed at least. That's the good thing for Troxel, but, you know, he's still going to lose a decent amount of ground. But with Drew Webb having his issue, of course, Ladovic having her issue in this race, you got Blaine Keys, who's 40 points behind the points lead. Matt Tuck, who's 31 points behind. The only 2 chase drivers who are really not having anything go wrong yet in this one. And then you got Kirsten Bell, 42 points behind in the top 10. So all the chase drivers who have had tough starts to the chase are the drivers running well in this race. All the ones who are higher up in the points are struggling, like Sam Adio, like Jack Haas. Rogel Dorn also struggling as well. But I feel like after all is said and done, Rogel's going to still be the points leader going into Indianapolis next week. You know, Matt Tuck has an opportunity to race his way in to the winner's showdown on Tuesday with a win here today. And I think that's also on his mind. He wants to be going for that $40 prize next Tuesday at the Indianapolis Raceway Park and not have to race in the open. So obviously a race win is huge, but this is the last chance for any of these drivers to get into the winner's showdown. Only winners from this year in points-paying races are eligible in that race, and then of course we'll have a Wawa Open beforehand, then only the winner of that Wawa Open will race in the showdown. So it's going to be fascinating to see if that ends up happening. Matt Tuck is slowly chipping away at Blaine Keys here. The big question is, will he be able to pass him? Because we know how strong Blaine Keys is. Of course, Matt Tuck was able to pass him the first time around. Will he be able to do it again? 10 laps to go here at the Pocono Raceway in the Herr's Forever Good 400. You got Avery Alford in third now. Bryce Egan is fourth. Logan Williams, Philip Torres. Just a gaggle of cars back in there. These guys have to be careful not to get caught up in any shenanigans. We already saw one shenanigan go wrong today. I want another one to go wrong for those guys.
Bruno Giacomo's up in the top 10 in the 28 car. There's a surprise. He has had a terrible season driving that 28 car. trying to salvage maybe a good run here in that 28 car. You also mentioned a lot of the drivers high up in points not having great days today. That also happened in the LSCI race last week. A lot of the higher up drivers in points struggled, including the points leader, but because of all those drivers struggling, that allowed Tim Berry to hold on to a pretty sizable gap in his points lead, and might see, well, Rogel Dorn didn't have a large points lead to begin with. It was only 2 points, but he could definitely take advantage of this, even though he himself isn't having the best of runs. I mean, he's behind his teammate Brady Mardi Gras right now, but, you know, Rogel Dorn could definitely... Wow, this 28 car is flying. I'm wondering if maybe some of these cars... I don't know.
I mean, the top 2 definitely took 4 tires on that stop. We saw Matt Tuck take 4 tires, and Blaine Keys came up behind him. So, you know, I don't think we had many guys go off strategy. But I don't know what really happened to Drew Webb. That is the interesting question, because he's all the way down 36 seconds now because he had to make that stop. He was not on the pit lane that long, so I don't know exactly what the issue was for Drew Webb right there. But he was the only one, other than Braden Perez, who we expected to come down, who came down right after that restart. So, just, you know, one thing after another for Drew Webb, and all the bad luck is at the beginning of this chase. Of course, last year he almost won the first 3 races of the chase, and far from that this year. But I tell you what, you know, have Ladovic Stret being out of this race as well. I mean, just imagine if she was still in this thing. She'd be up front here with Blaine Keys and Matt Tuck. I feel like she had a really quick car, and that engine couldn't hold for too long. And you know what? We're still not done with this one yet, and it's been a pretty sizable gap, pretty similar gap the past few laps between Blaine Keys and Matt Tuck, but as these tires wear out, there might be a slight difference on these machines, and Matt Tuck may have a slight advantage as we move through later on in this run. Thing is, it's going to only be 7 laps to go next time by, and Matt Tuck's running out of time to get around this 41 for the race lead here at Pocono.
And it gets harder to pass as those tires wear out, so you gotta imagine Matt Tuck's time is running out in that 54. He's got to make some sort of move. They've gapped the rest of the field, though, and there is a lot of good storylines running up there in that top 10. A lot of drivers that have kind of struggled this year. A lot of these non-chase drivers trying to get something out of this season. Bryce Egan, I mean, he hasn't had a terrible season in that 69 car, but definitely not the one that he would have liked to have. But running P3 here today, Logan Williams in 4th, Bruno Diacono. That 28 actually looks like a rocket ship here at the end of this race. Of course, this team, Trinity River Racing, not returning next season. So trying to go out on a good note here. He's going to be on the attack here for Logan Williams. I tell you what, this car is pretty fast. If he wasn't about 3 seconds back from the lead, I genuinely think he could have possibly had a chance against the 41 and the 54, as crazy as that sounds. And Ace Garcia now trying to move into the top 5. His struggles have been very well documented this season. That's why he's not returning to that car. Trying to get a top 5 here for Millennium Motorsports, who does have both their cars in the top 10 right now.
I'm sure Reggie Fogelman is absolutely loving what he's seeing right now, because those are his 2 drivers next year at Trackhouse Racing, Bryce Egan and Bruno Diacono. And they're right now the 2 best drivers in the field, not named Blaine Keys and Matt Tuck. And that's pretty solid. That's pretty solid to have that honor at a track like this. And speaking of Blaine Keys and Matt Tuck trying to get around this 41. That's the closest he has been since the restart. And I don't know, will he be able to get around this 41 machine and have an opportunity, his first Wawa Cup Series race victory since February of 2023? It's been a long time for Matt Tuck in victory lane in the Wawa Cup Series, which is hard to believe. Like you mentioned earlier, Brennan, that race at Dover where he dominated, was leading near the end, and ran out of fuel near the end of that race for what seemed to be no apparent reason. That gave the win over the Kirsten Bell. And, you know, Matt Tuck still in the chase. He made the chase, and a win here today would definitely make up for that. But Blaine Keys looking to become the first driver to win 4 races this season. And not only that, to be his 6th career win in the Wawa Cup Series before he's joining Pacific Racing next year as well. And Blaine is definitely a driver to watch out for. If it weren't for his bad start to the chase, he would easily be taking the points lead right now and be the driver to beat in this championship. But that first couple of races there for him did not help at all, and Matt Tuck unable to hold on to that good run that he had. He still is going to have 4 laps to go to get around this 41 machine, but will he have the strength in his car to be able to do it? That is the big question.
And does he have enough tires left to make a move? Catching a guy is one thing, and you see Matt Tuck has caught him, but passing him is a whole other deal, especially with the tires screaming like they are right now. Blaine Keys, he's just got to hold some steady laps here, and I think he's got it done, but Matt Tuck, I definitely don't think this is over yet. Matt Tuck definitely will have a couple more chances to try and get by the 41, but Keys trying to pull away here. He's opened up that gap a little bit, and that's not what Matt Tuck wants to see. And really pulling down the straightaway. That 41 is looking pretty good here late in the run as we're getting ready to take the 3 laps to go here at Pocono.
3 laps to go here in the Herr's Forever Good 400. They continue the battle back here. And meanwhile, Kirsten Bell has found herself in 5th, so a good points day for Kirsten in this one. And then Daniel Paul Sr., Rogel Dorn, Nicholas Sambenio, Jack Haas, the only other chase drivers in the lead draft right there. And then you got Thomas Troxel still running him this race, but all the way down at 30th. And then chase drivers with issues, Drew Webb 33rd, Braden Perez 35th, Trey Bartow all the way back out of the race in 37th, and then Ludovic Charette 39th. And what a run there for Matt Tuck through the tunnel turn. He could have a shot here if he gets to the inside in turn 3. Will he take the opportunity right here? No attack, no chance. Going to try to put the bumper to Blaine Keys in turn 3. Just not quite enough to get to the inside of him. Wonder if Blaine Keys starting to get in the wake of Braden Perez, and that might be upsetting his car just a little bit here. 2 laps to go at the Pocono Raceway for Blaine Keys, and Matt Tuck is all over his back bumper.
Oh boy, just like I said, this thing is far from over. Blaine Keys slips up. If he slips up one time, then Tuck will have a chance to get under him. Keys trying to pull back ahead. That's a great run out of the corner there for Matt Tuck. You can definitely tell that he is in send it mode, just like he was down in turn 2 on that last lap. Is he going to try it again this time? He's not close enough to really send it in there, but he's going to try it. He's got the nose a little bit lower than Keys. If he can get that run out of the corner and try and get under him in turn 3, he'll have a chance.
This is his opportunity. Will he peek down to the inside? Not enough. Not enough quite yet. Blaine's better through turn 3. Tuck gets the run off of turn 1 and has the advantage through turn 2, but he hasn't been able to get alongside him. Here we go. White flag in the air for the Herr's Forever Good 400. We will get a green flag finish this year. Oh, and that 57, Bernard de Oliveira might get in the way right here. He's off the pace ahead of our leaders. How will this affect Blaine Keys and Matt Tuck? Will Matt be able to get a run off the exit of turn 1 right here? Oh, he's closing back in again. I just don't think he's not close enough this time. He's really going to have to send it into turn 2 and try to make the move going into turn number 3. Blaine has done such an excellent job in this race. He took the race lead away from the restart off of Braden Perez and was able to get around Matt Tuck. Matt's got one shot, though. He's got to make the move now if he's going to have a shot at the win. Will he peek down to the inside in turn number 3? He's trying to get there. He just doesn't quite have enough. Not enough through turn 3, and it's going to be the 4th win of the season for Racing Motorsports and Blaine Keys, who wins the Herr's Forever Good 400 at Pocono Raceway.
What a finish.
And it wasn't quite close enough to get in the Bernardo de Oliveira there at the end. If there was one more lap, I feel like he would have gotten in the way. Matt Tuck gave it all he could to get around Blaine Keys for that race win, but it just wasn't enough, and Blaine Keys with his 4th win of the season here in the Wawa Cup Series, and we still got 7 races left to go. There's a good chance that Blaine Keys could tie Drew Webb for how many wins he got last year here in the Wawa Cup Series. What a race here at Pocono. What a race.
Definitely got to give credit to Matt. He gave it absolutely everything he had there on that last bit. Just those worn out tires. It's so hard to make a move here at Pocono. And I know Matt Tuck might be disappointed that he didn't get the win here today, but, you know, 2nd place, that's still big points for the 54 team. Still a great day for them. Can't be mad at that when you're thinking about the big picture, but, man, another race that Matt Tuck was so close to winning, but just couldn't get it. But, you know, he'll have a few more chances. Oh, my goodness. And bit of extracurricular activity there with the pit road barrels, but that's funny. That happened in the LSCI race too. But how about this? A lot of A lot of great runs for drivers that have struggled this season. Just look at that top 10 behind the top 2. How about
Bruno
that?
Giacomo finishing third, Bryce Egan in fourth, Logan Williams, Kirsten Bell, the only other Chase driver in the top 10. And you got Matthew Hubert, Travis Crampton, Angel Gutierrez, and Ace Garcia. Of course, Hubert, Williams, Gutierrez, they've all run very well this year. Obviously, Williams, Gutierrez have won races this year. And then you got some guys like Ace Garcia, and then Bryce Egan, Bruno Giacomo especially, who have not really found themselves up front in a lot of these races, who had good runs here today. Thomas Strauss finished 28th, Nicholas Sambadio 21st. I don't know what happened to Sambadio. Like, this same thing happened to him last week at Chicagoland. He wasn't caught up in anything. He just was mid the whole race. I mean, he wasn't mid earlier on, and then after that cycle of pit stops, he really fell back. Rogel Dorn finishing 16th. That should be enough for him to retain the points lead. Jack Haas, 20th right there, isn't going to be too far off, but Rogel's still going to have the advantage going into Indianapolis next week. And, man, Ludovic Charette, that's the big one right there, I feel like, because she had a very good opportunity at really jumping on these guys, and camshaft going bad early on in the race. And then, of course, the big wreck that took out Trey Bartow, Andrew Miller, Sam at Oskin, had a piston go bad after the fact there, and then Troxel was caught up in that, which sent him back after he had rebounded all the way to around the 12th position there. Such an interesting race here today at the Pocono Raceway, and just like every race we have here in the Wawa Cup Series, so many things happen. And hey, next week it's Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. Similar racetrack, but we tend to see very different results there than we do here at Pocono. How do you think it's going to play out for these guys for the fourth race of the chase next week at Indianapolis?
Yeah, Indianapolis, exact same track length, different layout for sure, but a lot of similar aspects between Pocono and Indianapolis. I mean, turn 2 of Pocono is literally based off of Indianapolis corners, but that's going to be a fun one for sure. This was a fun race for sure. Pocono does not disappoint. Always a solid track here in NR. A lot of shakeups in the points expected. Because of all the issues with especially the front runners in points. And, considering all the other shenanigans, I think Thomas Troxel isn't even going to lose all that many points to Rogel Dorn when it's all said and done. You might lose a few spots to other drivers, but this is still going to be a tight championship race, just 3 races into this season. And, we're just getting started here with this chase. And we saw the ups and downs of last year's chase, and it's looking very similar here today, and it's going to be exciting, that's for sure, and definitely not going to want to miss next week's race at Indy.
No, not one bit, and you're not going to want to miss what we've got coming up on Tuesday night as well. We're kind of bringing back, the All-Star race like it used to be. We got the Wawa Open. We're going to do single car qualifying for the Wawa Winter Showdown, and then it's the Wawa Winter Showdown at Indianapolis Raceway Park this coming Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll have to see who wins that $40 grand prize for getting the Winter Showdown this year. It's definitely going to be a fascinating race. Of course, Blaine Keys is going to be in that one. Logan Williams will be in that race. Kirsten Bell, Angel Gutierrez, Avery Alford, Daniel Paulus Jr., LJ Semedo. One guy who won't be in it, or at least he isn't in it quite yet, is Matt Tuck, who almost won here today. He'll be in that Wawa Open, and he will be leading the Wawa Open field to the green flag. That race will be determined by the starting lineup for that race, I should say, will be determined by the current points order. So, going to be fascinating to see how that all goes down. We're excited for it on Tuesday night. Sprint Series is going to be on Monday from IRP as well, so they got 2 races next week, and it's all in Indianapolis. They got a couple races at IRP, and then on the main speedway as well later on in the week. So, excited for it for the 4th race of the chase. And next week, the JBL Brickyard 400 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Congratulations to Blaine Keys for winning here at Pocono, his 4th win of the season there. And we'll have to see how it all ends up shaking out for him as we move out through the rest of this chase. Here are the points for the Wawa Cup Series after the 3 chase races so far. And on behalf of Brendan Wilmington, we'll see you guys next week for the JBL Brickyard 400. Congratulations to Blaine Keys once again, and I will see you guys later.